All right, guys, welcome to the top 3 finance stories that you missed. This is a show where I'm going to talk about 3 stories that you should know before you step foot into work tomorrow or get out of bed and jump on your first Zoom call. We're going to start off with earnings calls, and then we're going to move into something about a space company. In case you didn't know, there's a product out there called Starlink, and it's doing some interesting things. All right, let's go to Microsoft. So, what do we got? Well, today was earnings, and if you're an investor, you're going to like this earnings report. However, forewarning, after hours trading, they did go down a little bit. Don't freak out if you own Microsoft. They're still doing great. Look at these numbers. All right, yes, it's gone down. I'm using CNBC for this article. They're down 3%. Woohoo. However, their revenue killed it, okay? $41.7 billion versus an expectation that was $700 million lower. That's pretty good. 19% annualized revenue growth. That's also really good, gotta tell you. Don't know many companies that can pull that off. When you look at the top service, or the service that I'm focusing on right now, is Azure. I believe that Azure is the number one way that Microsoft can grow, and I gotta tell you, they are doing great. If you don't know what Azure is basically a company or a service where you can put your website on them, and they host it, and they do all these other services. Now, I'm not talking about like a Shopify website. I'm talking about like they provide the services for Shopify to provide the services to the end user, okay? This is huge. So they're going after Amazon. They're doing really good. Gotta tell you, 50% growth this quarter. Amazing. Let's jump right into their press release because this is what I like looking at. Now, I was going to open this little button right here in Excel, but I figured I might scare some people away. So let's just look at this chart, okay? 41 billion revenue compared to 35 billion. You look at their net income, $15.4 billion compared to $10.7 billion year over year. They're doing great. You know, I gotta tell you, they're doing really good. They did withhold some money due to a India Supreme Court issue. I'll have to look that up, maybe do a video on that. Let's scroll down a little bit. I'm going to skip that chart because there's a better chart right here. Here's where I love looking at numbers, okay? This is awesome. So everything looks like it's increasing, almost every single segment. You look at Azure, 50%. LinkedIn, 25%. You know, good for them. LinkedIn, keep on bringing that money in. Let's get that stock going up higher because I may be a shareholder or may not be. Remember, I may own the stocks that I talk about, but that doesn't mean that you should buy them, okay? Do your research before you buy anything and make the decision for yourself. All right, so you'll get Azure, 50%. There's really not much else I can say. You know, their leadership team is doing great. CEO has been kicking butt over the past few years, and, you know, I just hope that he stays and doesn't move on. But I will say I'm a little disappointed in their search advertising. It's not as high as what it could be. Personally, I think their search is pretty poor compared to other providers, but I think there is some good opportunity to grow. They're only at 17%. You know, perhaps they could look at acquiring some other search engines. You know, maybe DuckDuckGo could be an option. And that could give them a boost. It won't be as much as if, you know, they had bought Google 15 years ago, 20 years ago. But, hey, you live, you learn. All right, let's go to Google. Google is the next company we're going to talk about. They are kicking butt. I'm actually really impressed with Google right now, or Alphabet overall. They did $55 billion $55.3 billion. $300 million is a lot of money, I know. Compared to $41.1 billion year over year. Okay, that is a huge increase. That's $14 billion more than last quarter, than the previous year's quarter. Doing great. $16 billion in operating income. Again, that's huge numbers. I'm impressed every time I read these. And you look at net income, $17.9 billion. What can they do with that money? They can do a lot. They can do a lot with that money. Now let's look and see where it's coming from. Okay. Huge number. Google search, number one. The day that Google search is not in this top roll is the point where I'm like, what? Huh? So Google search making the most out of the most money. YouTube ads, $2 billion more dollars than year over year. Good job. Good job, Google. You look at this, Google Cloud has increased by almost $1.3 billion. Other bets, I'm actually impressed. That's not a negative number. They're doing good. Hedging gains, they lost some money. So be it. That's fine. Keep on losing money as long as you find, for everything that they lose money on, they find one product that they can sell, and they're doing pretty good with it. Google services, that's where they make their money. You look at cloud, they're losing money, but I have a feeling they'll start doing pretty good in that. Other bets, $1.1 billion in losses. That's all right. Whatever. Like I said, for every one that fails, they find one that'll make them a few $1 billion. I don't really want to look at this too much. I will just say, when you look at YouTube is kicking butt. There was another article that I found that I can't find right now, but they were saying that 81% of adults in the United States use YouTube. So that's great. Huge penetration. Let's go into Starlink. This is something big, and a lot of people may not think this is big. Personally, I think it's big news depending on whose boat you're flying in. But whatever. All right, let's rewind. Starlink is a product owned by SpaceX. It's basically like satellite internet, but better. The ping is lower, the speed is better, XYZ. Elon Musk is doing it, so it must be going to the moon and amazing. So far it has been. So when they were launching these satellites that talk to your computer on the ground, they were previously having to launch them to 1,100 kilometers above the Earth. But now they were approved to drop those new satellites down to 570. So instead of being here, they're now here. 570 kilometers above the Earth. This is great. They're saying it'll increase the speed, etc., etc. However, some companies are not too happy about that. And they are not happy. Why? Well, Viasat is a direct competitor. Amazon, you can bet your butt they're getting into internet now. I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see a service come out of that. After its first 1,500 satellites in orbit, the next 2,800 they want to put at 570 kilometers. That's huge, guys. Okay, that's a lot of satellites. Let's keep going down. Elon Musk. Here's the dish that you put on the top of your house. Like I said, Starlink is a great idea. It's doing good. They have consumers as well as government interest in it, military interest especially. And I foresee either two routes with Starlink. It can either be spun off, IPO'd, and used to raise capital, or they do the long game with this and use it to build revenue. And when they can get that revenue up and they can start making a profit, they can use that revenue and that net income to pay for their other interests. Musk is very big on going to Mars, and SpaceX is a private organization. They could, for all intents and purposes, do some crazy stuff. Anyhow, that's all I have for today's show. I really hope that you guys like the show. I just do this for fun. I try and keep it under 10 minutes. I don't know if this is under 10 minutes or not, but if you did like it, please, please, please hit the like button below, or subscribe. And remember, money isn't hard. Have a good one, guys.